Thank you very much, Muridura-san. First, on behalf of the Japanese scholars who are majoring in the South Asian studies, I must thanks to express great gratitude to this organizer, to this memorable conference, especially Professor Mahalakshmi and Professor Aditya Mukherjee, and especially the two distinguished professors who try to kindly introduce the excellent works of Professor Karashima, Professor Bamburi, and especially the Professor Sabra Yara. Thank you very much for a very kind and detailed analysis of his excellent works. And myself, for last 10 years, I collaborate with Aditya-san and Muridura-san to organize several workshops here. And today, I try to briefly introduce my recent research about Indo-Japan economic collaboration at the end of the 19th century within the context of the so-called global history. I'm now acting as a president of the Asian Association World Historians. This is a newly formed research association within Asia Pacific to consider the new concept of global history and world history from Asian perspectives. So today's my topic is closely related to such kind of my new research field. And this is the contents of the presentation today. And today I'm mainly focusing on the role of the Indian the business people, especially the role of the Tata families, and its collaboration with Japanese shipping company NYK, Nippon Yusen Company, and its implication for the formation of the inter-Asian trade and the development of inter-Asian competition, even at the end of the 19th century. Recent historiography reveals the revival of the development of Indian cotton industries at the turn of the 19th and 20th centuries, and the debate on so-called colonial industrialization continue between Indian Marxist historians and revisionists. And especially the cotton farming caused by the American Civil War accelerated the development of Indian cotton spinning industry in the 1960s, and its growth continued by the export of its products, especially cotton yarn, to China. The speed of the development was quite high. The leading entrepreneur was J.N. Tata, a Parsi merchant who engaged in Chinese export trade in the early 1960s. In 1893, he collaborated with the Japanese to challenge the monopoly of the P&O. This is a picture of the P&O shipping company, a Peninsula and Oriental Steam Navigation Company, British Imperial Shipping Enterprise, dominating the shipping regime in Asia in the 19th century. My short paper reviews the economic interactions between British India, Japan, and the British Empire, and its implication for the formation of the new Asian industrialization-based trading relationship at the turn of the 19th and 20th century. And another player is NYK, Nippon Yusen Company. NYK was the largest Japanese shipping company in the 19th and 20th centuries, and they launched the first international shipping route connecting Kobe, Bombay, via Hong Kong, Singapore, and Colombo in November 1893, only 8 years after its establishment. This is some explanation in Japanese. This is the first international shipping route try to connect Kobe with Bombay. Japan has started to import Indian raw cotton from 1889 and 3 Western shipping companies, especially P&O, Austin Lloyd, and NG Italiana, formed the Straits China and Japan Conference, a kind of shipping cartel, and monopolized the Indo-China-Japan route. They forced to pay monopolized high tariff 70 rupees per ton of raw cotton by Japanese importing companies. This extraordinary high level of cargo charges led to offset the advantage of the cheap price of Indian raw cotton and became the subject of the dispute. And J.N. Tata visited Japan in May 1893. He met several representatives of Japanese cotton spinning companies, especially Shibisa Eiichi, the most successful Japanese entrepreneur in business community, to persuade the opening of the Bombay line through the collaboration with India-Japanese business communities in order to crush the monopoly of the 3 European companies and to lower the tariff rates at least 25%. In August 1893, the Japanese spinners who have been suffering from the high tariff discussed the matter at a special meeting of the Japan Cotton Spinners Association and proposed 4 regular ships to the NYK and the Tata line at cheaper tariff rates of 13 rupees per ton of raw cotton. And this is the development of the Japanese cotton industry in Osaka. And on 7th November 1893, this is a picture of Hiroshima Maru, first ship. The Hiroshima Maru is a newly built British-made ship of around 3,000 tons, sailed from Kobe to Bombay as the first ship on the new line. This ship called at Hong Kong and Singapore with miscellaneous goods on its way to Bombay and loaded Japanese coal at Moji Port as a fuel of Bombay cotton factories. This joint venture of Indian-Japanese partnership soon faced with a bitter struggle with a conference group of European companies dominated by the P&O. They suddenly reduced their tariff from 17 rupees to only 5 rupees per ton, and 2 months later lowered its tariff to only 1.5 rupees. This drastic dumping intended to defeat the NYK Tata and to rob of their survival through severe price competition. NYK and Tata lines struggled against this counter-challenge by the P&O with the strong support of the Japan Cotton Spinners Association of course at invariably the considerable loss. They maintained the charge of the 20 rupees per ton of raw cotton. However, in February 1895, the loyal partner of NYK, the Tata line, forced to withdraw from Bombay line due to the heavy losses it has sustained. This was a heavy and regrettable blow to the partnership, but NYK was able to continue the sailing every 3 weeks with its own vessels by compensating with a withdrawal with the Tata line. In November 1895, P&O finally gave up the struggle to exclude NYK from Bombay line and asked the British Foreign Office to intermediate the price competition. NYK also agreed to the compromise proposal from the P&O owing to its implication to Anglo-Japanese intimate diplomatic relationship and its efforts to establish new European line to London and Antwerp. And finally, in May 1896, after 2.5 years issued a tariff-proof agreement on Bombay Orient route, it means China and Japan, was reached among P&O, NYK, and other two European companies. The tariff rate of Indian raw cotton was fixed at 20 rupees per ton, and the NYK and another two companies all shared the profits. By the conclusion of the price competition, the Japanese spinners could use every vessel of 4 conference companies on the same conditions. It is remarkable that when the Bombay line was opened in 1893, around 365,000 pickles of Indian raw cotton were imported in Japan. This is maybe some statistics. This one is export of Bombay yarn by sea and rail. Of course, the Bombay yarn's export destination, the main destination is China, as you quickly imagined. And this is very important point. And the NYK line and P&O carried this Bombay spoon cotton yarn to China. And next one, this is export of Indian raw cotton from Bombay, 1894 to 1903. You can quickly imagine, you can quickly understand. Of course, the total, maybe the destination is together Europe, but Japan also dominated. Very important destination of the Indian raw cotton. And as a country, later mentioned, Japan was the largest importer of Indian raw cotton at the end of the 19th century.
China. China is the red.
And also, China disappeared. Yeah. And okay, so this is very important point. The cargo of the Bombay line are not only confined to the Indian raw cotton, but also miscellaneous goods that produced around Osaka and Kobe. These miscellaneous goods included much soap and Western-style umbrella, lamp, etc., which are exported to Hong Kong, Southeast Asia, and South Asia, of course, British India, as a return cargo of Indian raw cotton. These goods are produced for export to Asian countries and regions as a specific Asian modern commodities, which are preferable to Asian local people. It means those goods were intentionally designed and made suitable for Asian peculiar needs and tastes, and the price was relatively cheaper than that of European goods. Osaka-made Asian goods had strong competitive price and quality advantage against European goods. They are handled and exported by Asian merchants, such as Chinese overseas merchants and Indian merchants, who had migrated to and worked at Southeast Asia and East Asian port cities like Kobe and Yokohama. The overseas activities of the Tata family in China and Japan was a typical example of this Indian merchant network. And after the establishment of the NYK line to Bombay, there emerged the inter-Asian trading networks between East Asia, Southeast Asia, and South Asia, British India, to connect these 4 areas. As for the British India's external trade, the amount and the share of the inter-Asian trade among exports were around 30%. So it means around 30% of Indian exports were bound for Asian countries. And in the year of the 1913, the whole amount of inter-Asian trade was 167 million pounds, around 80% of that of European-US trade. But the rate of its growth was faster than Europe-US trade, and it reached to 5.5% per year during from 1883 to 1913. The formation of this network was quite unique for non-European regions not to exist in Africa or in Latin America. So this development of inter-Asian trade at the turn of the 19th and 20th centuries led to the formation of the intra-Asian competition in Asian consumer goods market, especially in China. As mentioned before, the Indian cotton yarn was exported to China and dominated Chinese machine-made yarn market from the 1880s. However, from the 1890s, this is important. However, from the 1890s, the export of Japanese, it means Osaka cotton yarn, rapidly increased and competed with the dominant position of Indian yarn in Chinese market. Later, at the turn of the centuries, Chinese indigenous cotton spinning industry emerged around Shanghai, which intensified so-called triangle inter-Asian competition among Indian, Japanese, and Chinese cotton yarn products. British goods almost lost their competitive power in this heavy triangle competition. This development of inter-Asian trade brought a favorable benefit to the NYK, Indo-Oriental Line. In addition to the original targeted cargo of Indian raw cotton, new cargo of Bombay-spun Indian yarn was transported by NYK Line to Hong Kong and Shanghai on its return way to Kobe and Yokohama. These Bombay yarns have been the most important and profitable cargoes for the especially P&O, as well as for the challenging the NYK and Tata Line. For the operation of the NYK Bombay service, Indian cotton yarn became an important supplementary source of income with Indian raw cotton. It is an ironical reality for Japanese cotton spinners that the rival competitors of Indian cotton spinning companies in Bombay could use the same NYK vessels bound for China for their export of yarn. With a rapid increase of Indian raw cotton export to Japan, NYK stopped calling at Shanghai on their return way to Japan in order to shorten the voyage time at the time of the Tata's withdrawal. This means the cotton-centered inter-Asian trade developed with heavy competition and collaboration, even among partners. The NYK started its European line in March 1896 by using the latest ordered cargo liners within the regime of so-called the Europe East Asia Conference. Even though NYK was placed at an unfavorable position in the framework of the European Conference, it might be the start of the autonomous shipping line, shipping business of the latecomer. So thank you very much.